Hello, sorcerers and sorceresses. Sorceresses? What? I want to talk about manifestation, and I'm also going to give you an update on my first week, my identity challenge. Something has been happening, definitely as a result of part of my identity challenge was doing 5 sun salutes a day. I have been doing that and I've been doing variations, so I'm not doing the exact same thing every day. And most days I have also been doing additional yoga and breath work. And I love that. I mean, I am a body-based person, and when I am neglecting intentional tending to my body, not just through being physical or working out or whatever, but like just paying attention, I do not thrive if I'm ignoring that. So bringing myself into that practice has already, it's been Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days. It's already been very illuminating and informative. And so what has been happening most of the days is I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm doing my sun salutes. Then I'm like, not yet. I have this other thing I want to do first. And I have all of my sequences that maybe not all of them, but so many of my sequences that I created when I was teaching yoga actively. And I have them in a notebook. So I've been going to those sequences and doing my own sequences. And I love it because when I teach something, it feels like a baby. Um, like I love my teachings and I love embodying things I've created before. And inevitably each day I've had a moment of like, okay, I just want to sit here and breathe. And so one thing is like being reminded through my own, like, the changes that have happened in my body since I used to do yoga regularly. And, or any kind of, I've talked about like my movement is all in kind of one plane. So like since I've been doing any kind of movement that's been like multi-dimensional, multi-directional, things change. Things don't quite move the way that they used to. And I love propping myself up. And I used to teach that when I would teach yoga, and I did it when I was becoming a yoga teacher. But being reminded again, like instead of forcing myself to sit cross-legged on the flat floor and having hips tight enough that my knees are coming up and, my low back is kind of rounding and stuff, and I'm not relaxed. Like, oh yeah, let me prop myself up. Let me get a blanket that I can sit on and like, have my pelvis in a better position and then bring blocks under my knees to hold them up. Because let me tell you a secret. If you don't already know the secret, anything you hold a little bit firmer than it holds itself has the opportunity to let go. So propping up the knees brings them into a position just beyond like where they would hold themselves up. And bringing the blanket under the seat gives the low back the opportunity to relax. So the whole pelvis bowl can just be at ease. It can relax down. And then my spine gets to be upright. And then I can breathe better naturally. And then I go into my pranayama. And I've been doing Bastrika, which just means bellows. And it's basically the lower abdomen. So the transverse abdominis is equal parts inhale, exhale through the closed mouth or through the nose, mouth is closed, and just an inhale and exhale. And so the transverse abdominis expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting. And it's not a fast breath, but it is very intentional. And I mean, the transverse abdominis is like one of the most supportive pelvic floor muscles that you can activate. So that's really awesome too. But what keeps happening, and I meant to look this up and I haven't yet, there is a breath that's called the skull shining breath. Bastrika means bellows. So I know it doesn't translate to skull shining, but like that's the experience I have. I feel the Kundalini energy rising up out of my pelvis every time I do it and just like bathing my head and skull and brain and energy, crown chakra, third eye, all my glands. Like I feel them just bathed in energy. And so I'm getting to just sit in this space that I've created for myself with intention and speak to deeper parts of myself and other parts of myself. And I've had a couple of times, it's only been a couple of times, and it's happened a little spontaneously where I am recognizing the energy of an infant who's just come in to the world and has all potential available. All potential available. They haven't lived out the things that become obstacles and get in their way yet. Some of that does happen in utero. I'm not ignoring that, but for the most part, they're living in full potential. And I've had this movement into that version of me that's like back into full potential. Again, a couple times spontaneously. And I feel the certainty that things are just working out. That when I ask for something, it will be there. That when I know something, it's true. And it's not in an arrogant way, it's in the infant way that's like, I just came from the side that that is true. So why would I question that here? I don't have a reason to question it yet. And so it's been really cool to, if I notice any kind of, I mean, very mild, I'm not having like a big struggle, but if I'm noticing any kind of like struggle inside myself, it's just a quick like, oh, I don't need to do that. It's fine. So I'm going to give you a concrete example. Speaking of sorcery, my dishwasher and garbage disposal are both, they're two different breakers, but they're on the same flipper. And I've had dishwasher issues since I've moved into this place in January. It's now June. And they've been by multiple times. They haven't fixed it. It does work, but I have to flip the breaker off and on like 9 times and then it'll work. Super fun. And they keep coming and like trying to do the same thing and it's whatever. I don't know. They don't want to give me a new dishwasher, I guess. So anyway, then the garbage disposal stopped working this week, which on its own may be a little annoying, but now my sink has been backing up and it's not draining. So getting a little gross. It's not to the level of it being an emergency, but it does remind me how difficult having maintenance get to me has been. It's been the challenge since living here. Like my first maintenance request I put in took 3 weeks. Maybe it was 4 weeks by the time they came. So I'm like, is it going to take that long? I don't think we have any maintenance people right now. I think they're only using like their rotating guys. And it's a fairly big complex and it's a bit older, so it has an impact. So anyway, I'm thinking about my sink these last few days. I'm walking around, walking my dog, and I'm like, I have no desire to be the Karen. And that's like the thing that I know to do, is to go in and be like, hey, so just checking something really quick. Okay. are you guys gonna fix my garbage disposal? Like, can it prioritize above other things? Because the other stuff I've had going on is just stuff I want fixed, or, I can do without the dishwasher even for a little while. Like I did that for 4 weeks. I can still wash my dishes, but not having use of my kitchen sink is kind of, that's a more elevated concern. But I didn't want to do the Karen route. And I did walk around yesterday trying to find the maintenance guy who I do know, who I don't actually think works here anymore, but I'm not sure. Because I know he would come just take care of it. I didn't see him. And so then I'm like, all right, what do I do? Like, do I contact them? And I don't really know how to do it and not be whiny about it. And that's what I'm really not. I just don't like doing that. And so then I got an email from the apartment complex and they're like, oh, hey, we're gonna, come check on your dishwasher. I know that's frustrating. And remember, my main concern is my garbage disposal. We're gonna come check on your dishwasher. I understand it's frustrating. This hasn't been fixed. It's been, da da da. So it was very empathetic, very kind. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks. But I'm like, great, here's an opportunity to say something right now without being a bitch. And so I replied and I was like, well, thank you so much for that. Most my top concern right now is actually my garbage disposal because I can't use my sink. So they responded and like, okay, cool. Like we looped in, this other maintenance guy and we'll be able to fix it on Friday. Okay, today's Wednesday. So I'm like, all right, I'm not pissed, but I am like, really? Do I need to like deal with this for another 2 days? And when Friday comes, is he even gonna be able to come? Like, and then I was like, okay, just sat back in my energy and I was like, look, there's no way it's gonna take till Friday. Like it's gonna happen today. Okay. It's just gonna happen today. Didn't give it another thought. Knock, knock, knock. So the guy comes, the electrician, who I didn't even read in the email was coming today, but he came to check out the dishwasher again. And so I let him know, like, oh, hey, the breaker for both is like slipping a little bit. I don't know if that's what's wrong with the garbage disposal. He checks it. Sure enough, that was what's wrong with the garbage disposal. So now my garbage disposal is working and I didn't have to wait and I didn't have to be a bitch. And they reached out to me and I just had to stop struggling inside of myself or forcing it or trying to make it happen or track the guy down or, be a Karen or whatever. I just was like, hey, no way that I'm going to have to keep dealing with this. No, it's going to be done. And it was just certainty. And then it was. So that's one aspect of my update with my yoga. And I did want to share one thing about shaving my head. So again, the purpose of this identity challenge that I have put upon myself, that I'm excitedly participating in, is that it's one, an exploration of desire, and it's also like cleaning up frequency. And I knew that kind of in the back of my mind. I don't know that I spoke to that before, but having this experience that I'm about to share, like, brought it forward very clearly. And I'm like, right, like, this is how we get out of ambiguity. And why are you not manifesting what you want? Because your signal is not clear. So if you want to clarify your signal, one of the fastest ways is to start taking action, and especially weird action, especially things that you've wanted to do forever that you haven't done. Like it's just going to start being so clear, so informative, and it's going to teach you some shit about your shit. So I did my first shave Friday. Again, today is Wednesday. I did the longest setting on my clippers. I didn't do the full thing right away, but I did complete it by Friday night. The next day, Saturday, my hair was just like long and my follicles are everywhere. So it was just kind of like chaotic and bushy. And I ordered pizza and I looked like messy. That's my point of saying that is like the hair was just everywhere and it looked messy. And I ordered pizza and the guy delivered it. And when I opened the door, I was saying to you guys whenever I last recorded, like I felt like I looked like an old lesbian. And with that longer hair, I did. I feel like I did. Maybe I still do, but I'm not seeing it that strongly the same way. And I opened the door, thanked the guy for the pizza, gave him a little smile, closed the door. And what hit me was, and this is my perception, but that's what we're fucking talking about. It doesn't really matter what his perception was. But my perception was I have taken myself completely out of the running of being attractive to men. That was my perception in that moment. And I did not like that, which was interesting because I have been in a very like asexual kind of place for several years, and attracting men is not something I have cared about or wanted or needed or been concerned with for years. But with the longer hair, and I would always just throw it up in a messy bun. I wear clothes that are pretty nondescript. I wear the same thing over and over again. That's a way to hide, but I still like if I have like a one-on-one interaction with somebody, I like a little like it doesn't have to be a flirtatious smile, but just like like a little peekaboo smile, like, hey, I see you, you see me. And at that moment, with that original length of shave and that very brief, like, oh, thanks, bye, like, I felt like that's not even available. Peekaboo smiles are not available. Um, and like now I've categorized myself out of the running. And so again, I realized I did not like that. I did not want that. And I'm not wanting to be in the running where I'm like, save a horse, ride a cowboy. Like I'm not at that point, but I'm like, no, I actually do want to pay attention to how I look. I have a friend who she cares very much about how she looks, and the way she words it is, I care about presentation. And I just love that. And it's not something I, again, focus on. Um, there are periods in my life where I have, but I haven't for quite some time. So I'm like probably giving myself my next homework. But focusing on presentation, focusing on how I am viewed by other people. And that doesn't necessarily mean like, let me try to be attractive to somebody else because I feel like that's a game that's really easy to lose. But at least, and I said this, in one of my own videos, like being attracted to myself, like caring about how I'm being perceived and not taking myself out of the running when I don't want to be out of the running. So that was very informative. That's not why I did do a lower shave. Really, I just didn't want my hair to be so messy. I wanted to look more shaved and not like a bad haircut. So I did do the next lowest setting and I shaved it. And I do like this length. I don't know that it's totally even yet because again, my hair follicles are kind of all over the place. So I might give it another just like run through just to even it out. And we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to keep it like this or grow it or who knows, but it is an adventure. So that is my update midweek, and I'll speak to you again soon.